Okay.
Oh, let me stop. Okay.
This is the procedure for covering a full-scale Piper J-3 cup. And I'm using the same procedure on my quarter scale. So the first step is to lay the fabric out on this part of the fuselage from the bottom longeron up to the top or the center longeron, and smooth the fabric as much as you can. This fabric is called SIG coverall, and it's the same fabric made up the same as we use on the full-scale Piper cup. So this is the first step. You lay your fabric off and you start trimming off the fabric about probably an inch below the bottom longeron. You keep trimming that up. Here, so you can fasten around the bottom longeron. You wrap it, you leave enough fabric here so you can wrap it around the bottom longeron. And then the top part, you pin that down to hold it in place. You put pins on the center longeron and on up to hold the fabric in place temporarily back to the tail. So then you go on and trim. Leaving a little margin there so you can wrap the fabric around. You can trim it again afterwards when you get the covering done. You need a very sharp scissors for this. A dull scissor will not cut the fabric. Thick coverall is called. It's a very tough fabric. It's a rayon blend, synthetic, and it makes a very strong covering. So this is the same procedure you would use on the full-scale fuselage of a Piper J-3 cup.
Okay.
You can either use a very sharp scissor or probably a razor blade, probably, or even a sharp X-Acto knife will probably do it too. Otherwise, you have to have I use a little scissor about this size, and it's extremely sharp. Okay, this is the first step. We've got one strip of fabric on. It's pinned down here. It's a low crinkle now, but as you stretch it, when you put it on, when you shrink it, that all will disappear.
Okay.
I use this jig, the same as they do on the full-scale Piper cup. You may only use 2x4s or something like that, of that size, on the big one, of course, very small ones, and you pass it on to the firewall, just a little bit smaller on the firewall so you have room for the fabric. So when you want to turn the fuselage over to work on the top, you just turn it and set it. So then you can work on the top. Or you can turn, one broke off. So that's the next step is to put a coat of Stick-Sit. It's a SIG Stick-Sit. It's a covering adhesive, and you paint that on all the framework where you want the fabric to stick. So you paint a coat on all around the edges of where you want the fabric to stick. Doesn't need a real heavy coat. You go over when it's dry to the touch, which is it dries pretty fast. When it's dry to the touch, you can install the covering. You put the covering on, and then when you put the cover on, tack it down. You tack it down so it's fairly tight, not real tight, because it'll shrink enough when you heat it. The stick set on the perimeter of the area we're going to cover is dry to the touch. So then we put the fabric back on it and pin it to the perimeter in a few places so it stays in place. This. Or if you have on the full scale, sometimes you use clamps for this. You have some clamps you can use to clamp the fabric in place to hold it. You want it to.
We're rolling.
The next step, after your first coat of stick set has dried to the touch, you go over with another coat on top, lay the fabric back on, you go another step, roll it over the longeron, hold it down a little bit. Takes just a short time to dry. Maybe take the knife and cut a little slit for each. So it'll fit around your braces.
So cut pretty easy.
So you keep on like that all the way down to your around the perimeter. Stick set. This is stuck now. It is dried enough after you went over the perimeter with stick set. So I can pull on it. I can pull it. You don't want to pull it real tight. Just so it just takes some of the wrinkles out. Then you go over this side with paint. And then as it's drying, as that dries, you can kind of pull it down a little bit. You know, it'll slide for just a little while. It'll still slide. So you could try to get as smooth as you can on the edges. The wrinkles will come off when you put the iron on it. So you have to be careful so you don't leave any wrinkles on the edges. I'll pull down a little bit and hold it for just a few seconds. It'll stick. So now when you cover the quarter scale in the same procedure, you'd know how to cover the full scale airplane. And then if you should happen to make a mistake and leave a little wrinkle here someplace, you can always go back over it and dope it and soften it and paint it with Fix-It.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can pull it again. It'll loosen it up just enough to pull it. So pull it a little tight, pull it, let it, whoops, loosen it out a little bit with your finger. Sure to get all the wrinkles. There. Stick pretty. It's stuck on both sides, both edges on the perimeter. So now you can see the fabric already looks pretty smooth, doesn't it? You keep on like that over the whole side. But as I said before, don't try to pull it as tight as you can, because the iron, when you put the heat on it, that takes care of the... Have a demonstration on how to cover the wings and the stabilizer. Use the same method on the perimeter. So, and when this time we've covered that much, that's tight now.
Looks good. You having fun?
Yes. I always like to do this. I started covering model airplanes with tissue rubber powered models when I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and we used Japanese tissue, they called it. Used the same method as this. That's covering the rubber powered models back I was a kid. Only the airplanes were just this big, small. And you can do it on the same model, even if it's smaller, but if you have a frame that isn't quite as sturdy as a quarter scale, you have to be very careful when you tighten it, otherwise it'll warp your fuselage. It'll get too tight. So if you're using this type of covering in a smaller airplane, you have to be real careful that you when you tighten it. If you like to have a lot of fun, build a quarter scale cub, or even some other quarter, but the cub is the special one. And get some coveralls and have some fun.
Okay.